I would like to welcome Mr. Aditya, and I see Mr. Manish and also Ms. Thank you for joining. And I'd like to give a brief introduction to our team, especially about Mr. Aditya. And I got this note in an email, so I'll just read through it. Obviously, it's been a short notice for me as well. That unfortunately, Ma has not been able to conduct this session. So, Mr. Aditya Subramanian is the co-founder of Climate Bee Ventures. It's a startup developing high-resolution flood risk assessment solutions for cities and critical infrastructure. This is to help measure, manage, and mitigate the physical impacts due to climate change. So we are very keen to understand how your solution and approach works. So he's the co-founder of Climate Bee Ventures, and it's working. It's a startup developing high-resolution flood risk assessment. And specifically, in the email note, I also see that you have been exclusively working with the cities of Assam to improve that state's climate resilience. So we are very eager to kind of understand what that approach and solution has been. I'll now hand it over to Mr. Aditya to take over the session. And regarding format, you can choose whichever you're comfortable with. When does the Q&A come in, or can people ask questions in between? So it's entirely up to you. So over to you, Mr. Aditya.
Thank you, Srinivas. So as you said, we are developing high resolution systems. So we started off in 2021. This was me and my co-founder Bharat, who is unfortunately not here because he's on travel today. And so we started this back in 2021. We've been incubated at a center called TechSmill, which is under the IIT ISM Dhanbad, and we've been funded by them. So we've been developing this flood risk assessment systems for mines and cities till now, and that is where we've been working in Assam. So right now we also found that Bangalore has been facing considerable amount of floods last year, and that is when I came across Balom's work on water management in the city, and I reached out to Shubha and Shubha, and then we even met up in Coimbatore when they had come. So this is the context of where the conversations have been and how this is eventually come up. So what I'll do is I'll briefly give a presentation of what we do, and you guys can feel free to ask questions at any point in time. Like, let's not have it at the end. If certain questions pop up at any particular point in time, you guys can feel free to shoot it at them there. So that sounds good to everybody.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So, Shika, can you just share the screen?
Yeah, sure.
So thank you so much for giving us this opportunity once again. So So again, we are Climate Bee Ventures, and we're developing flood risk management solutions for cities and for critical infrastructure like mines. Shikha, so previously, Shikha, first one, the introduction one, yeah, the first one, before one. Okay, so Shikha, the first slide, the start of the presentation. Yeah. So we're incubated at Forge and at TechSmill. TechSmill is a technology innovation hub under the IIT ISM Dhanbad. So they're incubating startups developing solutions for safe, sustainable mining. So we are carrying out our solutions for the mines with TechSmill. And Forge is an incubator in Coimbatore who works extensively in smart cities. So they have a city innovation exchange where where startups can pitch in solutions for smart cities. So they work with all the smart cities in India. So they name a few. They work with Ahmedabad. They work with Patna. They work in Coimbatore, obviously, and certain other cities in Andhra as well, in Yadadri districts. So we have been developing our solutions for cities using 4G's extensive reach. So we've been incubated in Forge since 2021 July and in Textment from 2022 March. So this is what we've been doing for the past 2 years. Yeah, next slide. So this is just to give you a brief context of how the presentation looks like and what the structure is. Next one. So yeah, so what are we doing? So we at Climate Ventures we help enterprises and cities visualize physical climate risk to their assets, and we develop decision support systems to plan their adaptation strategies. So we've been doing this by leveraging the latest data science and artificial intelligence, geospatial data management, and we also use latest technologies such as drones and other surveys to actually improve the resolution so that this results in better planning and execution of the strategies that the asset employs to prevent floods happening in India. So we are again incubated in Texman and Forge, as I just explained. So this is our team. So Bharat, who's unfortunately not here, he's the CEO and co-founder. So and I'm also the co-founder of MB Ventures. We started this back in 2021, and we have Manish with us on the call, who is heading the flood modeling division in Climate, and we have Shikha, who's our urban management specialist, and we also have Ayantika, who's the chief of staff, who's helping us with all the business development activities. And we also have Akhil Kumar in our team, who is actually working in the city of Vancouver. He's a consultant for the flood management solutions that we develop. And we also have Mr. N.K. Jyoti Shankar, who's leading the back end and the front end of this team. So he's the one in charge of developing the app, which goes on to the end consumers. So he's taking charge of the software development. So we have around 25. We've completed around 25 projects in the climate change and disaster management sector, funded by different organizations. And we also have certified sustainability and climate risk professionals according to the by CLARP. So Akhil is actually a sustainability and climate risk professional. So this is our team. Next. So, what are the problem areas that we're focusing when it comes to cities? So, in cities, we find that there's a high surface runoff because of which the downstream areas in the particular cities are, inundated. In certain cities that are bound by the rivers, there's also a problem of embankments. This is particularly seen in the city of Silchar in Assam, where we've been working quite extensively with. We found that certain parts of the embankments were broken because of which there was overtopping and there was water, crossing between the broken parts, and that resulted in flooding of the cities. Siltation is a big problem as well. It's also a case in Bangalore where high silt, reduces the water carrying capacity because of which inundation occurs. And bank erosion and failure. This is particularly true in the case of Assam, where certain islands and certain places, districts in Assam have faced bank erosion, and it's been on the increase right from the past 4 decades. And with Brahmaputra being very dampened and ravaging, the bank erosion is continuously increasing. So that's a problem that's particularly oriented towards Assam. And we also have drainage system planning, which I think is a problem in most of the parts in India, where stormwater drains and sewage drains are usually the same, and this reduces again. This inadequacy is also one of the major causes for flooding. So these are the 5 problem areas that we focus on. So what do we offer? So we first offer a high resolution drone survey of the particular location or asset under question, or if it's a city, a particular vulnerable area in the city. So we map the entire, the particular designated area using a drone survey. This gives us high resolution digital elevation mapping, which can also assist the city in urban planning and water management. So using the digital elevation mapping, we use flood modeling software such as HECRAS and HECSMS to estimate the surface runoff and the flood hazards um, that could occur because of certain rainfall intensities. So we calculate the intensity and frequency of rainfall occurring in a particular location, and then we superimpose that in the models to understand the impact of such rainfall scenarios on the particular city. Depending on that, we plan the adaptations. So the adaptations are unique for every city. For a city that is surrounded by a river and which faces extreme rainfall, some of the adaptations could be, proper construction of the embankments, proper drain networks. For cities like Bangalore, siltation is a big problem. So desilting and proper drain lines uh, could be adaptation responses that the city looks into. And we also have real-time monitoring where we have the facility to put in sensors, AWS, that is automated weather sensors, different sensors such as humidity sensor, your rainfall sensor, temperature sensor to actually understand what the real-time weather is, and also forecast the weather and superimpose the real-time information onto the flood modeling software to understand the real-time impact. So this is what we offer. So the drone survey, we take the DEM from it, the digital elevation. We run our flood modeling analysis on the digital elevation mapping. We then suggest adaptation responses, and we also do real-time monitoring. So what this offers to cities and to other assets other than the competitors is that uh, the resolution is very high, which aids in efficient planning, and we also couple the real-time weather information, which is an added bonus, and it also aids in planning in the same sense. So the other people are not doing drone surveys, so that is where we stand out from the rest of the people doing frontline. So this is what we offer. I'd be happy to take any questions at this point. Otherwise, I move on to the.
Yeah, I think you can continue.
Yeah, sure. Next one. So these are some of the demo models that we have developed in
Tools,
20 cities.
local.
So we've used different softwares. I will go over each and every one of them in detail. So next one. So the first one is to estimate the surface runoff. So from the drone, generated DEM or the satellite data, we run we estimate the surface runoff using HEC-HMS, where we can delineate the number of streams that cause the runoff downstream, and we can estimate the amount of surface runoff. Using this, we can also estimate where drain lines have to be positioned to divert the water uh, to places other than the downstream highly populated areas, so that those areas are not inundated. So this is the use of this software, the HEC-HMS. So yeah, hydrological models have been developed using this to understand what is going to be the next one. So embankment breach. Here you can see two pictures on your right. The top, so the top one is the baseline scenario where at a particular rainfall intensity with low embankments, the amount of water that is entering into the city is the one highlighted in blue, light blue. So that is the extent of inundation because of a particular rainfall intensity in the city with no embankments. The one below shows a particular embankment of a particular embankment of a particular size and cross section, which we can feed into the model, and of a particular material of construction as well. So after placing the embankment across the river, we can see the reduction in water intensity, that is water intent that is into the that flows into the city. So this is the use of this. This is how the embankment breach has been studied. So the amount of water that is entering into the city has been greatly reduced by constructing an embankment around the river. So this is model number two, where we study the application of the embankment. So this is the siltation. So again, this is the same thing. So where we have a baseline scenario where no desilting works or no dredging works have been carried out onto the canals or onto the streams. So we see the extent of water in the business as usual scenario, and in the image that is below, we can see how greatly the extent of water inundation in the city has been reduced because of dredging works and because of desilting. So this is the third one. Next one. So bank erosion and failure, as you can understand, this is a case that is particular to the city of the state of Assam, where bank erosion has been happening to a great extent, and around 7.4% of the land area has been consumed because of bank erosion and river bank erosion channel migration. So we've simulated this as well in HECRAS using a BSTEM model. So we have estimated the velocity of the particular river, and we have understood um, how much of this is going to play an impact on the bank erosion. So, yeah, next one. Stormwater drain system. Again, in the business as usual scenario, we do not have any stormwater drains in the entire city. And if you can see from the picture below, we have installed one stormwater drain in one particular area in the city, and we can see the extent of water reduction because of the one stormwater drain line. Now, this can be studied for the other parts as well, for the vulnerable areas, and we can clearly determine how many stormwater drains can be put in the particular asset under study, and we can even plan the entire drainage system from this. So, this is the impact of the stormwater drain system. Uh, Manish, do you want to pitch in here?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Good morning, all. Yeah, it is basically the wetland extent and drainage mapping. You have already, Aditya sir has already explained you all drainage mapping. Drainage mapping is we are using a GIS software, a QGIS and ArcGIS software. You already know. So we are actually using any high resolution TM data if available, or we can use open source DM data so that we can extract the drainage network map, and we can see the you can see the you can see the catchment area here, and this is basically left images. You can see the wetland extent. This dark blue color is basically pre-monsoon 2020 wetland extent, and post-monsoon right image is post-monsoon 2020 wetland extent. Yeah, it is basically using a spectral indices we have given there, and yeah. Yes, Sikha, next one. Yeah, this is basically you can see the probable entering point of the flow from the river. You can see 1 and 2. It is in yellow marketed area. Uh, it is basically if water flow of the water level of the river is beyond the elevation of the catchment regions, then it will flow into the catchment area and will inundate the area, or will increase the extent of the wetland. Yeah, next one. Yeah, it is here we have this is basically for the uh, uh, one wetland from the Assam city, Assam state. Here we have used LULC mapping, and then after installing, you can see the baseline land cover map. Upper map is the baseline land cover map, and the lower map is the land cover map with implementing trees at edge NBS. Here first using modeling, using any hydraulic modeling. We can use we can first see the sedimentation analysis, how siltation is going to the um, entering to the wetland area, and after implementing the trees or after implementing any natural based solutions, uh, here you can see a contour vegetation bonding is there. We have introduced here, and after that some reduction is going in the next slide. You can see. Yeah, next.
So one second, Shita, I'll just switch in here, previously. So just to give you a context, a lot of wetlands in Assam actually actually have faced high silt problems. So we've been requested to use nature-based solutions instead of grey infrastructure to actually reduce the silt and increase strength of the wetlands. So this is one model where we have analyzed the use of contour bunting um, to simulate the impact of nature-based solutions on flood adaptation. So this is the model for the same. Yeah, Manish.
Sika, next one. Yeah, you can see the reduction of the siltation.
Is it okay to ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Please. Yeah,
Can we
please.
go back to the previous slide, please? So one of the points you say is vegetation contour bunding was introduced. So is this in the model that you introduced? Was there some survey done on that? Mm, just trying
So
to
these are
understand
yeah.
how.
So these are models that we've used. So this is not actually a real depiction of the ground. We've not actually implemented the nature-based solution to the ground. We would progressively be doing it. So what we're trying to understand is for the entire state of Assam, we are trying to zero in on 4 particular districts which are the most vulnerable, and where nature-based solutions can actually work and actually make sense because you have to also study the soil characteristics and all of those things. So we are first trying to understand using GIS and using other softwares what are the 4 particular vulnerable areas that we would want to choose where we would actually implement the nature-based solutions. After we zero in on the 4 areas, we would then be implementing the nature-based solutions over there and studying the real-time impact as well. So this is just a model. So the real-time impact will follow like in a couple of months.
Okay, okay.
I hope that helps.
Yes, that. So all of the you also said initially that you use a drone and you do a survey, right?
Yeah.
For modeling, you need some data before you start modeling, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
is that the main data, or is there some other ground data that you do also collect?
Manish, you can pitch in.
Basically for siltation, I think we need to know the catchment characteristics and the catchment, swell. We have to collect this catchment grain sizes, soil grain sizes, and other like wetland bathymetric, wetland bed air profile data, and some
Okay.
rain. Yeah, and if there is any accurate meteorological data, it would be more
Okay.
data to
So you
give
do
more.
the bathymetry also for the
Yes.
wetlands,
Yes.
for
Yes.
and then use that data for your modeling.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. That
Oh,
plus the drone classification data, with both of them
got it. Got it.
used
Yeah,
in
I was just
conjunction
trying to
to.
figure out just the drone, but then how do you figure out, you get the catchment, but how do you figure out how things? Okay, thank you. I mean, some certain things clear. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next one.
So,
See.
yeah.
Yeah, here you can see the much reduction of the siltation. You can see the dark blue color is basically baseline without adapting any natural based any trees on the contour. After introducing the vegetation contour, you can see the reduction of the siltation at the contour profile. Uh, Jessica. Jessica. Yeah.
So we'll just conclude here. So these are the basic benefits that the city can have with our solutions. So it's better flood better visibility of the flood
Ask
risk
when
due
did
to
you
high
become
resolution service,
global
decision support
affection
system for the
strategist?
entire
I
city
ask, how
under
when did
study,
you take up the
reduce
global
cost of
risk
repair
strategist role, ma?
because this
How
will
much are they paying
ease
you?
out planning and this will facilitate
Ask
better
them.
management
Ask.
and operations. Smooth integration into the workflow.
My Harish.
We believe we would then be converting all of these models into an app, which will feed into the integrated command control the 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 decision makers system, because of which that will aid in creating disaster management plans and other SOPs during and after disaster. And this is also aligned with the SDGs. So these are the benefits that we offer to the city. So this is um, this is an overview of what we're doing, and yeah, so we're through. And thank you so much for you know giving us this opportunity, and we can take questions on this at this point in time. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Manish.
you, Aditya. Thank you, Manish. Thanks, Shika, for uh, running through the presentation. So let me ask a question from my side. I'm sure others have questions also. So in one of the slides, you mentioned that you have 25 plus completed projects on climate change and disaster, right? So when you say projects, these are actual on the ground implementation of your models, and you have been able to see the results. Could you give some examples?
Yeah, I mean, this is what the team has done. So not what the organization has done. It's the entire team. So we come with years of experience in consulting. Bharat comes with around 8, 9 years of experience in consulting. So he has actually implemented, you know, climate resilient and adaptation projects in the state of Orissa. And I have also worked on climate resilient projects in particular industries. To be precise, Hindustan Petrochemicals in Mumbai. So we had studied their entire water inlet and outlets, and we had estimated at different rainfall scenarios how much they would lose in terms of production and operations if water was insufficient at particular points or particular intervals in time, particular seasons as well. So, and Manish has also been working on flood modeling with his previous organization. So this is a cumulative experience of the entire organization, I mean, entire team in the organization, and for not particularly under.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So in that, I mean, even if it's a broad-based experience, would there be a specific example at the city level that you could kind of bring out? It could be city level or it could be an enterprise.
Right.
Just curious to know what was, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
one of the examples, right?
Yeah. So I'll tell you the project that we had, implemented in Hindustan Petrochemicals. Right? So there, it's a plant in Mumbai which faces a lot of water issues in terms of drought, water scarcity, and in certain times in the summer season they would have to stop their operations because of lack of water availability. And there was a lot of discharge of water. There was a lot of blowdown, as we call it, and most of the water was left untreated. And so we had actually mapped the entire water flow in and water flow out from the system, and we had mapped all the inlet points and outlet points. We had understood at certain points they had the facility to actually treat the discharge and use that for their cooling tower operations and for their other heat exchanger operations and stuff like that. So this was then developed into a particular framework, a particular model, where water water scarcity was one of the inputs, and they could literally play around with the water availability to understand how much they would lose, in terms of finances and in terms of operations if they had not taken any care, with respects to water treatment. And we also had scenarios where they would reuse the water that they were discharging at this point in time, and how much that could save their operations. So So this is what we had done, and yeah, this is one of the examples where we mapped the entire Indian market and we helped them become a climate risk. In terms of the city, I think Bharat would be in a better position to explain that because he has worked extensively for the state of Odisha, where he had developed heat island projects and his inputs were taken to the policy level where the entire state had actually implemented his policies. Yeah, so I think he would be in a better position to explain what he's done for the city and possibly.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Aditya. I'd request our team, if anybody has questions, please feel free to ask.
Just a quick one, Aditya. What I and from the presentation, maybe the presentation does not represent the entirety of the work. The interactions between groundwater, right, aquifer response to rainfalls, and in different contexts, the riverine or the non-riverine contexts, and how that is interacting with floods, the idea of floods. Um, I somehow saw that kind of part of the conversation missing in what you presented. Like, how does that play itself out? And if we speak in resilience terms, right? I see what you presented from an adaptation perspective and from a stormwater management perspective. I see it. I see what you're doing, but from a resilience perspective, I think it takes on very different kind of connotations, right? I mean, how do you look at the flood as something that can help the city tide over the next year's drought if there is going to be a drought next year? So you get into very different conversations when we actually bring resilience as an idea into this. And I thought the groundwater bit is a very critical bit if we need to bring the resilience bit, because I'm sure you're familiar with our work. Without getting into too much of the complexities of understanding this at this, pan city level, we have a very simple understanding here in Bangalore, where we say that listen, groundwater is a very critical source of water for us, for Bangalore. We are a non-riverine, right? We are on a hill. Ideally, our city should never flood, right? But we use a lot of groundwater. So a simple retention structure, which we call a recharge well. So in the stormwater language, detention ponds and retention and detention structures, and how they contribute to both flood management and resilience, climate resilience. If you see that, our thing has been, listen, a recharge well is a very simple tool for both managing groundwater, recharging groundwater, managing floods, but also reducing your energy footprint of the water that you're going to use, groundwater that you're going to use. So, so it's contributing to resilience, it's contributing to mitigation, it's contributing to adaptation, all three dimensions of, right? So just a few thoughts and reactions and any experiences from, other cities or other contexts around this interaction with groundwater.
Manish, you can.
Yes. Yeah. Hello, sir. Yeah. Basically, first of all, actually, I'm a water resource engineer, and in MTech, I have done groundwater modeling, and and I'm freelancing a 3 to 4 project on the groundwater modeling. Yeah, and recently I've uh, uh, I've uh, I've written a paper for land use land cover changes on the with the how land use land cover changes affect the groundwater availability. So I'm familiar with that, and so actually, yes, for the flood for the cities, we can for the if there would be any flood and we need to store for the future for the next season so that drought would not happen. Uh, so if you said about the recharge well, and yeah, there is a recharge well. It's a major source for to groundwater recharge, and another one is you can wetland is another aspect we can see, and third one is the lake reservoir. They all are recharge pond. You know, they all are recharging the groundwater well. If the bed of these storage structures is if the bed of these storage structures are well versed with for the groundwater recharge. Yeah, and for actually for to estimating the groundwater recharge and to estimate the groundwater table, how the groundwater is how groundwater is replenishing or any other. We generally we follow the GEC guidelines, groundwater estimation committee guidelines, to estimate the recharge generally. And even though we can use a groundwater flow model like mode flow to see the how groundwater recharge is happening, and even the more for water zone recharge for water zone, we can see the Hydrus 1D software. Hydrus software, I've used Hydrus and Modflow for the MTech project. And for the uh, uh, Aditya sir, would you like to add anything? Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we have come across this question a lot of times, where they've asked us to think of storing this excess flood water for droughts as well. I think this was a case that was brought to us in the city of Chennai, where they said floods every November December time, but we don't have water anymore. So we haven't actually worked with you know these kind of cities till now. We haven't implemented the solution. But as Manish said, we would be able to think of this as a possible solution. So I just hope this answers a little bit of your question. I mean, I would love to love to know your thoughts and follow up questions because we haven't implemented the solution in the ground level at this point. So the SAM does not face a lot of crowds, so I don't think they consider this to be a solution. So floods are what they want to mitigate. At this point.
Avinash, would you like to comment on that?
No. I mean, yeah, I was just flagging it. I mean, so to me, I think I'm also flagging the question of, trying to understand what resilience means, right? So even if it is in the context, Aditya, where it's a water surplus context,
Sure.
your okay. One part of the resilience is how do you manage when the waters come flowing, but what are the other dimensions of resilience? So it's not that I have some great answers or anything. I'm just it's a reflection, that's all. It's a reaction, based on what you all shared. Because resilience is also about how people cope with it. How do you make people's lives and livelihoods? What happens to. So if you talk about Assam, if you talk about the wetlands, I mean, what were the livelihoods based out of the wetlands? What happened to those livelihoods? For example, during a flood. So how do people respond to this? How do floods become actually a cycle uh, for the for the strengthening of livelihoods? I mean, many people, their livelihoods are dependent on the floods, right? I mean, uh, especially as not that I know that very well. So I think, I think my broader question was, when we bring in the idea of resilience, how do we, I was trying to ask myself the question, and therefore trying to kind of, how does, these techniques of modeling and kind of advanced tools that we have, how does this now talk to and engage with a lot of the lived reality responses of people, right? It's easy now to make these tools and then engage with the state and then translate it to policy, but that often misses a lot of actual resilience shown by people right on the ground
Yeah,
who live and survive the floods, and it is their resilience that we call resilience at the end of the day. So I was just trying to build this bridge,
yeah.
and I was
Yes,
trying to
yes.
bring the Bangalore context into that. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. See, very, very good question. I think this is what we're trying to do for the Assam project as well. Not just build models and give it to the state and state how to do it. So the nature-based solutions that we would want to implement would be done by the local community and would be done by self-help people. So we've already spoken to a couple of organizations who are in charge of strengthening the entire area, like building, like, actually going and planting those trees or planting those roots or whatever we decide on at the end, to actually see what the impact is on the ground and go and study this on a season basis and see if their livelihoods change because of this. So very, very pertinent question that you have asked. And then you're right in many cases that this is goes to the government and they probably don't act on the same as well. So this is what we're trying to change for the state of Assam, where we have identified four places where we can actually implement these solutions, and also over the course and time see how these solutions impact the particular livelihood, see how many jobs they can create or how many jobs they can save. That is also something that we are trying to do, not at the outset right now, but definitely in the phase 2 of the project, this is definitely going to be there, where we understand how this plays an impact. So yeah, very pertinent question. If Shikha or Manish wants to add anything on to this, most welcome. Shikha, Manish, anything on this?
Yeah. No, sir. Go on.
So
No, sir.
yeah, so Avinash, very pertinent question. I think we are probably trying our best to actually implement all of these solutions in the ground, and not just give it to the government and let them decide what to do about this.
Yeah, I'm just
Thanks,
seeing if.
Aditya.
Uh, Go ahead,
Thanks,
Avinash.
Aditya. Yeah. Thanks, Aditya. Maybe you should, you should. Uh, uh, I don't know if you have a presence in Bangalore. I keep forgetting, but if you do come to Bangalore, maybe you should join one or two field visits that we are constantly doing, and look at some of the work and be able to build a conversation around flood resilience and recharge well and livelihoods. Just as an interchange, that's something that we can share with you, just like you shared all your the tools and modeling, and then a conversation to say how do we converge these two very ground up way of looking at it, and a very kind of, what should I say, drone down way of looking, the drone survey way of looking at it, right? I mean, how do the two meet, right? How do we synthesize the knowledge that tools can generate like this with the knowledge of the well digger and the farmer, on the ground, and does that give uh, will that then make your knowledge more valuable and empower the farmer and the well digger more in the whole process, which is what resilience is all about. So just a welcome to come and engage on the ground with our work, so that we can enrich this conversation.
That would be an approach for us. So I'm based out of Coimbatore, not sure if you into that. So yeah, I can drop down anytime. We can, and this would be very impactful because, as you say, we can convert this conversation of adaptation into actually changing lives in the country. So this would be really impactful to see about.
Thanks, Aditya. Just checking if any other um questions are there. Um, Team, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask. questions if you have any. Yeah, I probably looks like there are no more questions. I was just curious, when you mentioned about this nature-based solution, could you talk a little bit more about that? I mean, you mentioned about a tree planting as one approach, but are there more such things that can help?
Yes, I mean it depends on the soil characteristics and the uh, local plants grown over there. So I think Shika and Manish, you can add more on what nature-based solutions you're looking at.
Yes, so basically, it is basically for the soil types. So, what soil types and the what native vegetations are there in the respective wetland or any other storage structure. Basically, for the vegetations, soil cohesion is depends if the vegetation root is more deeper, then soil cohesion is more, and it will uh, it will cohesive the it will cohesive it will attract the cohesive force to uh, store the soil characteristics more, and uh, it depends if the vegetation species height is more higher, or it depends on the height of the vegetation. uh, so if there is any siltation sedimentation coming from the catchment to the wetland, if you provide them, it will uh, it will filter the silt, and you know no only with some concentration it will discharge it, run of discharge within the wetland. And it is basically mainly it is more easy to use the vegetation on the channel or any upstream channel, so that if there is any runoff coming with the silt, then it is able to use, and it is uh, more better to filter the siltation.
Like
Go on,
if
Manish.
I yeah if I pitch in like it is basically for the stopping the erosion, which we find very much prevalent in with Brahmaputra rivers and Brahmaputra river and its tributaries. So these vegetation at the like along the channel will help in stopping the erosion. And as Manish mentioned that we will be using the native uh, like plants, which is we are exploring with vetiver, which is also we find in south as well in Assam. There are two types of it. So we are thinking like how we are also using, trying to model it out, trying to see the soil samples and what impact it has, and then seeing the impact, what impact it will finally have on the site. And for that we are also approaching NGOs which actually grow these plants, and we are also trying to see, since it's a plant, we have to look into the its mature period, and when how which conditions it will grow better and how. So for that also we are trying to go to nursery and understand that how implementation would be. Uh, that's it. So
All right. Okay.
So,
Excellent.
Srinivas, did you also want to understand what are the other nature-based solutions you're looking at, like, other than trees or plants? Was that one of your questions?
Yeah, just it's a very very broad question because I mean we all
Right.
understand that vegetation helps prevent erosion.
Yeah.
But always curious to know what more approaches are there out there. So I was asking from that. So
What
if you have additional,
so the other ones are probably your gray infrastructure, which is that's not something that we are looking into. Trees, contour bunding as and wetlands as well, and vetiver grass as well. Vetiver grass we are very focused on because that's actually implemented in certain areas in the Sundarbans where mangroves are also being used in great extent. So these are some of the types that you can probably think of with nature-based solutions. Mangroves have been used extensively in West Bengal, I think in 4 districts where they completely prevented uh, erosion, and they have actually created a lot of jobs, as Avinash was saying. They've actually increased the farming rate, and all of this has been studied and implemented in real in 3 districts. Yeah, so these are the different types of nature-based solutions that you can opt for. If not, the other option is your gray infrastructure and concrete and stuff.
okay, thanks. Just checking if anybody else has question.
Shivan, I have one question. Yeah. So once you simulate the results and give some recommendation, no, like how many times it will be like the practicality of it, and how many times you will have to go back and rework. How much will it happen?
Very, very good question, Shivanand. Actually, for the practicality bit of it, we haven't, actually matured and gone to that stage yet. We've just been recommending solutions, and most of the solutions that we are recommending, if not for the nature-based solution, involve a lot of, financial implications also. So that again, boils down to whether the local government or the city government or the state government has the particular finances to actually implement those solutions. Like that is something that we leave it to them because we are not, controlling whether they should actually construct a drain line or actually, build the embankment or, structure that because we believe that we're getting too much into the bureaucracy. If we use nature-based solutions and if we use self-help groups and communities, then we would definitely be implementing this when it comes to the actual implementation of the civil works. Then we're not sure we haven't reached that stage, but this is what we have in mind. Where it all boils down to what is the budget that the local government has to actually. But in all senses, that the practicality that the model gives in terms of um, the material of construction of the embankment, for example, or of the size of the drains or the size of the embankments, can be, can be used as is, when they're actually constructing the embankment. So those are practically applicable. But whether they're going to build a drain or not, that is something that unfortunately is not under our.
So how much money is in your bank account? Probably like 20 mil. 20 mil? Yeah. Seriously, like what do you do for a living?
Any other follow-up questions, Shivan?
What does that mean?
No.
You go out with them.
Okay.
Damn, it's just you go on dates and stuff? Yeah, pretty much.
Anybody else from the team?
So how much money is in your bank account? Probably like 20 mil. 20 mil? Yeah. Seriously, like what do you do for a living?
Yeah, looks like there are no more questions at this point. So I would like to thank the team here who gathered for taking your time and sharing us your work. So thanks for that presentation, and we hope that we'll meet you sometimes in Bangalore or some other place. But yeah, so I think with that we can close the session. Unless there are any further comments.
And I hope like we will practically work on a project itself so that we will get to know more.
That would be great if we can collaborate and kind of use both of our expertise to actually implement it and work on
Yeah, absolutely.
it.
Okay. Thanks everyone. Thanks for your time. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much.